Wind and rain of Gateshead, and so has returned to the United States. But still a very, very high-quality field here, which includes Fraser-Pryce and Talu and Okagbare on the inside lane there. Mavari Al-Shamari from Kuwait, two-time national champion. She goes in 1. Cara Parker from USA, member of the 4x100 relay bronze winning team here in Doha 2 years ago in 2. There is Okagbare, 32 years old now, Olympic and world long jump silver. Got a great start in Gateshead last weekend in the pouring rain, but then faded to 5th in 11:57. But she'll be much more suited, I'm sure, to the warm conditions here. Marie-Josée Talu also performed very well indeed, came ahead of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, who's just to her right, to finish in 3rd last weekend, world bronze here 2 years ago in the 100 metres. Talu then, all the experience goes in lane 4. There is Fraser-Pryce, 34 years old now, multiple Olympic and world champion, including the reigning world champion from here 2 years ago, aiming to become the first mother to win an Olympic title in Tokyo in 9 weeks' time. She goes in 5. Javianne Oliver, outstanding indoor season, won the World Indoor Tour, unbeaten inside. She was 6th in Gateshead last weekend. She goes in 6. Hannah Cunliffe in 7, former NCAA indoor champion, based in Florida. She goes in 7. And completing the lineup, Ayla Del Ponte from Switzerland, the newly crowned European indoor champion, part of that excellent group based in Papendal with Laura Muley, and the likes of Femke Bol and Nika Klaver. So Del Ponte in 8, Okagbare in 3, Talu in 4, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, whose biggest motivation, she said, this year is perhaps not retaining her Olympic title, but to go sub 10.7. That is a big deal, she says, for the rest of her career. So the lineup again: Al-Shamari in 1 from Kuwait, Parker USA in 2, Okagbare, the Nigerian, the tall figure, goes in 3, Talu, the diminutive Ivorian, in 4, Fraser-Pryce, there she is with the headband, in 5, Oliver, USA 6, Cunliffe, USA 7, Del Ponte, Switzerland, in lane 8. Women's 100 metres. Well, once again, Okagbare gets a good start, but Fraser-Pryce already into her running along with Talu. Also going well is Oliver, but Fraser-Pryce coming away with it. Fraser-Pryce lights out into the line. Fraser-Pryce with a slight tailwind, 10.84, the winning time. Well, that's progress, and of course, a completely different race, totally different conditions. And having laboured to 11:57 last weekend in the driving rain in the northeast of England, well, you could say normal service resumed here. A season's best for Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. 9 weeks to go until the Olympic Games in Tokyo, and I'm sure she'll say little steps, baby steps, stepping stones, preparation, and that will feel good. Okagbare coming in 2nd place and continuing her excellent start to the season. But victory there for the double Olympic champion.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. And I was actually had the chance to interview her in Gateshead about the season ahead, and we talked about the fact she'd missed last year because Olympics. She had such a good 2019. What a good start here again tonight. And it's that platform of consistency which gave her that World Championship in 2019. 11 times. It was her best year ever for running under 11 seconds in 2019. 11 sub-11 second performances, and here we are early, as you said, Chris, still fairly early in the season. Gateshead wasn't the place to do it, but a scintillating run here from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. 34, mum, all of that sort of thing going on, but is still going to be right up there. Let no one have any doubt whatsoever. As good as Dina Asher-Smith was, as good as Sha'Carri Richardson is looking, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and of course, let's not forget Elaine Thompson. Okagbare is in the mix, but she keeps running like this, starting like this, consistency. She can pop that. She's talked about sub 10.7, and who knows, that's what it might need come Tokyo.
Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce ran 10.84 seconds in Doha. 1 week earlier, in Gateshead, she ran 11.57. That is a 0.73 second swing between consecutive races. A gap that almost breaks the logic of a discipline where hundredths separate champions from also rans. Most analysts filed Gateshead as a weather anomaly and moved on. They were wrong too, because inside that 0.73-second gap is a precise biomechanical story about how elite sprinters adapt their mechanics to thermal conditions, and why Fraser-Pryce at 34 was doing it better than athletes 10 years younger. That Doha race took place in May 2021, 9 weeks before the Tokyo Olympic Games. The field included Blessing Okagbare, Mujinga Kambunji, Marie-Josée Talou, and Shelly-Ann Oliver, a lineup capable of sub-10.9 on any given day. Sha'Carri Richardson had been expected to race, generating real anticipation after their Gateshead meeting, but withdrew before the start with cramping. The headline narrative collapsed. What replaced it was more analytically interesting. Fraser-Pryce, alone at the top of the draw, with nothing to hide behind. The question this race answers is not whether Fraser-Pryce was fast. It is how she reconstructed her mechanical model between Gateshead and Doha in 7 days, and what that reconstruction tells us about elite sprint performance under thermal stress. Start with Gateshead. The temperature at race time was approximately 9 degrees Celsius with a driving headwind. In cold conditions, muscle viscosity increases. The sliding filaments in fast-twitch fibers operate with measurably higher internal resistance. Research on sprint performance at sub-15-degree ambient temperatures consistently shows a 1.5 to 2% degradation in peak power output per 10-degree drop below optimal racing temperature, which sits around 22 to 26 degrees Celsius. Fraser-Pryce's 11.57 in those conditions, accounting for the headwind, was actually a mechanically efficient run. The problem was that cold muscles shorten the athlete's functional stride length by restricting hip flexor range and reducing elastic energy return from the Achilles and plantar fascia. Her stride length in Gateshead is estimated to have been around 1.9 meters at top speed, below her optimal 2.1 to 2.15 meter range. Doha was 29 degrees Celsius at race time, with a legal tailwind of plus 0.9 meters per second. The thermal environment alone restores roughly 1.2% of peak power. But here is what most observers missed. Fraser-Pryce's adaptation between those two races was not merely physiological. It was tactical and technical. She has spent 15 years refining what coaches call a compression and release drive phase, a model where she keeps her center of mass lower for longer in the first 30 meters, generating horizontal force rather than sacrificing it to premature vertical lift. In Gateshead, the cold compromised her hamstring elasticity enough that she came upright too early, around the 25-meter mark. In Doha, she held her drive phase posture through 35 meters, and the data reflects it. Her 10-meter split through the acceleration zone was approximately 1.08 seconds, converting to a ground contact time of around 0.105 seconds per stride, consistent with world-class acceleration mechanics. What is most surprising about this race is not the winning time. It is the split structure. Fraser-Pryce's estimated 60-meter split was 6.94 seconds. Her back 40 meters, from 60 to 100, took approximately 3.90 seconds. That back 40 ratio represents a maintenance index of 0.562, meaning she preserved more than 56% of her peak velocity through the final quarter of the race. For a 34-year-old sprinter, that maintenance profile is exceptional. Younger athletes frequently show a steeper velocity decay after 70 meters, as lactic buffering capacity begins to limit stride frequency. Fraser-Pryce's stride rate at top speed was approximately 4.7 steps per second, with a stride length of 2.12 meters, both figures inside her documented optimal range. So why did Blessing Okagbare, who had run 10.97 in her season opener and showed an explosive early drive, finish second without seriously threatening the lead? The answer sits in the 30 to 60 meter corridor. Okagbare's stride length advantage, she operates around 2.3 meters at top speed due to her 1.80 meter frame, becomes a liability when her transition from drive phase to upright sprinting is not perfectly timed. In Doha, she came upright at approximately the 28-meter mark, surrendering the horizontal ground reaction force vector too early. Fraser-Pryce, shorter at 1.52 meters, runs a higher stride frequency to compensate, approximately 4.7 to 4.8 steps per second versus Okagbare's 4.4. In the middle corridor of a 100-meter race, the frequency model wins when the longer stride athlete's timing is even marginally off. The argument that experience alone explains longevity in sprinting undersells the structural reality. Fraser-Pryce has rebuilt her technical model twice, once returning from the birth of her son in 2017, once recalibrating for sub-10.70 pursuit in 2021. Those are not the adjustments of an athlete managing decline. They are the adjustments of a technically sophisticated sprinter actively remodeling her mechanics. What does elite sprinting look like in a second career arc? This race is the answer. Her stated goal entering the 2021 season was to run sub-10.70 seconds. Her personal best at that point stood at 10.60, set in 2012. A 10.84 in May with a legal tailwind on a warming track, with clean mechanical execution. That is a credible step toward 10.70 in championship conditions. The progression from 11.57 to 10.84 in a single week is not a weather story. It is a precision recalibration story. What this race teaches is specific. In sprint analysis, environmental conditions have to be folded into mechanical evaluation before any comparison across races means anything. A 0.73-second swing between meets is not noise. It is signal. It tells you where the athlete's mechanical model is weather-sensitive, where it is robust, and how quickly a genuinely elite technician can re-optimize. The Doha 100 meters of May 2021 is a masterclass in that re-optimization, run at 34, 9 weeks before an Olympic final. Watch any Fraser-Pryce race from this period and track the 30 to 40-meter window. That is where the race is decided long before the crowd notices. If you want to understand how sprint mechanics shift between track surfaces and temperature bands, the 4x100 relay breakdown is the next place to look. The baton exchange zone compresses every one of these variables into a 2-meter window. If this kind of breakdown is what you are here for, subscribe and hit the bell. Every video on this channel goes this deep. Leave a question below. What phase of the 100 meters do you think gets the least analytical attention? We read every reply.